Hello there and welcome to this little tutorial on how to make this little fancy dress. And I've got this beautiful tulip fabric and there isn't that much of it, so I wanted to make something nice with it. So I have this top as well that is very tight, so as I'm going to use it, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger or quite a lot wider. And then I'm just simply, as you can see here, I'm marking around it, so I'm giving it quite a lot of extra seam allowance everywhere because that top is so tiny, but I'm just using it to kind of make this shape. So I've got like an A shape on the skirt, and then I've got a curve where my armpit kind of is. Then I'm using the leftovers to make some straps. And as you can see before, I've also got a little bit higher front piece than the back piece, but you can make them the same height. That is not absolutely necessary at all. And then I'm just using up these scraps to simply make the best straps as I possibly can. And here I'm cutting a nice even curve along the edge of my little kind of A skirt overall dress. So first of all, this is jersey fabric, so it stretches. And that's really nice when you sew with it. And I'm going to make the straps first, so I'm folding them along the long edge and just stitching them together on my serger, but you can easily use a normal sewing machine. And I'm doing that with both of them, and then I'm going to fold them out towards the front side of the fabric, and then I will have my straps nice and ready. And for that I just need to put in a safety pin, attach it to one end of the fabric, and then try to pull it through this tube that I've made and pull it out on the other side, and be really careful not to pin yourself, and then you've got the strap out. Do the same again, safety pin onto the fabric and put it through. And of course that is easiest to do if you have a tube that is not too narrow. So if you make really narrow straps, then it can be a little bit harder to do. So I've got my two straps there, and then I've got my two dress pieces, the front piece and the back piece, and I'm going to stitch it down the side here, my little A-shaped side. So I'm doing it from under the arm, starting there, making sure the two edges of fabric are aligned, stitching it all the way down here, and then I'm going to do the other side as well. Finding the precise point where the edges meet below the arm, and then all the way down along the sides. And I'm doing it on my serger, but you can easily do this on a normal sewing machine with your favorite seam, whether it's a straight stitch or a little zigzag stitch. This jersey fabric, it doesn't really fray, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. And as you saw before, when I cut it, or I marked it from that very tiny top, I gave it quite a bit of seam allowance. So now is also a good time to try it on and see how it actually fits before you sew anymore. So for attaching the straps, you can try it on to see where you want the straps, and then place them with needles, or just remember where they went. I'm putting them off to the sides. I like that, and it kind of fits in with this shape, but not all the way off to the sides, because I've got to have 1 centimeter on each side of the straps towards the edges, where I can fold the fabric in towards the back. And I could also do that first if I wanted to finish the hemming on the top bit and then add the straps, but I like to add the straps before I actually turn the fabric towards the back and finish. So stitching the straps in place, and it's also a good idea to just put them in place first with some pins or clips, and again to try it to see if you've made the straps too long or too short possibly. So now the straps are on, and now I simply got to fold the edges of the fabric in towards the back. So I fold it approximately 1 centimeter in towards the back, and then just stitch it in place. And I like to do a little small zigzag stitch, because then the seam is elastic, which means that if I pull at the fabric, the seam will actually give as well, which is really good because the fabric is so stretchy, so I need a seam that can also stretch. And I just carefully make sure to fold it approximately 1 centimeter in towards the back all the way around, and then stitch it in place. And if you want to be really neat and do it very nicely, you can of course give it a press with an iron simply first, so you make sure that you fold it towards the back and iron it in place so it's kind of pressed, and then you add the seam. But it is quite quick, you know. We marked and cut the dress, stitched the sides together, made the straps, attached the straps, and now the last bit of finish, which is folding the raw edges in towards the back and yeah, stitching them in place. It's only the bottom that needs to be done now. And I also don't do any zigzagging or serger stitching on that, again because it's jersey, so I'm not worried about the fabric fraying. So that also simply just needs to be folded towards the back and then stitched in place. And you can give it a few extra stitches here and there if you want to make sure the straps go on very securely. And that's the bottom here, folding it in towards the back, and I'm just giving it, not 1 centimeter, but just a couple, and then I'm trying to curve the fabric as the curve that I cut curves, so I kind of curve the fabric along the way and try not to pull it too much, but because it is jersey you can just pull it a little bit in place. Just be careful not to overdo it, so you kind of get a pull in the seam, and that will look not so good afterwards. So be very careful, fold it in towards the back and stitch it in place without pulling too much. And here it can also be a good help to use an iron and just press it. Then I like to put it onto the other side afterwards, so I stitch it from the front and then just give it another stitch, another seam, so it looks like it's been made with a twin needle, even though I haven't got a twin needle attached to my machine right now. So that's it. Quite a cool little dress, and very easy to also adjust in size. You can mark it and cut it, and if it doesn't fit, if it's too big, it's very, very simple to just simply stitch it in a little bit more in each side until you feel that it has the perfect fit. And it's cool with long sleeves or a little camisole or a little tank top underneath, depending on the weather. So thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.